You might be forgiven for thinking that this is a scene from a funeral, but this isn't a wake. This is an emergency Mercedes debriefing after a hellish day 2 of testing, where everything that could go wrong did go wrong. There were hydraulic and gearbox issues causing George's car to stop out on track. Not a good look. Mid-corner instability, loss of downforce on the front axle, number of laps completed, compounded by the fact that Red Bull, Aston Martin and Ferrari all look like they've built rocket ships. Some say that because of unknown variables, hybrid programs, fuel loads and different tyre compounds, you've got to take testing with a pinch of salt. And then looking at the timesheet under these circumstances, you're not comparing apples with apples. And I'm praying to the F1 gods that they're right, because thus far, if we're honest, it's not looking great for Mercedes. And this is consistent with the negativity surrounding the Brackley outfit even before a wheel was turned in testing, with chatter ensuing around late modification to parts, reliability issues and missed development deadlines. Oh, and by the way, to further compound suspicions, the fellas in the cockpit didn't exactly cut optimistic figures either.
We definitely believe eventually we will have a car capable of getting in that fight. I think realistically it will be a stretch for next week, but there's no reason why eventually we can't get there.
If Lewis and George are to be believed, then Mercedes have 2 chances of seeing the top step of the podium in the early stages of next season. Slim and none. In fact, it might be as late as race 6, that 25% of the way through the season, by the way, before we even see Mercedes challenging for race victories. It's crazy to me at this point that the boys and girls at Brackley, 8-time constructors champions no less, are playing down their hopes so aggressively at this early stage in the 23 season. You know, I really hope this is Mercedes just being Mercedes and doing the PhD level sandbagging, but I'm not so sure. And team principal Toto Wolff didn't have much positive to say either. Eventually then, as far as Mercedes are concerned, and competing for the top step of the podium is the word of the day. Eventually. Is this where we are really? I mean, how did we even get here? That as at February 2023, Mercedes lacked the requisite expertise and technical nous to put a car capable of winning championships in the hands of Sir Lewis Hamilton. And that makes me sad. Sad because as an F1 fan, I want to see competition. I want to see the best drivers in the best cars do wheel-to-wheel combat every single race. Sad because as an F1 fan, I want to see Merc make messes Verstappen and Horner earn their corn, because I want to see a promise of the rematch of the 2021 season, a battle between the 2 greatest drivers of the respective generations delivered upon in 2023. That's what I want to see. Now, Mike Elliott has talked about a plan B, plans to upgrade the car in the early part of the season and the performance upside that might bring.
So what's this talk about a plan B?
So there is a bodywork coming that will look different. It won't look like somebody else's. It'll look like an evolution of ours.
But you know, somebody needs to help me make this make sense. With all the time in the off season, with all the data that we gathered in 2022, you mean to tell me in February of 23 that we still don't know what the optimal design for these rules and regs looks like? I'm sorry, this is insane, man. There are questions that need answering, and I'm going to ask them. Why be so stubborn to pursue a design concept whose performance curve is so prohibitive that we only see the true performance of the car when it's a full moon at high altitude tracks? Why aren't we leveraging side pods to control front tyre wake outboard in a season where a raised floor edge makes this mission critical? Why? Why let go key person James Vowles in a season where you could make an argument that you need him the most? And let's shelve the design concept questions for a second, because there are more broader questions that Mercedes AMG Petronas need to answer for. Why were our pit stops some of the slowest on the grid last year? Why are we habitually slow to take advantage of the free pit stop under safety car conditions? And why are our safety car restarts so poor? Why are Mercedes still moving strategically as if we have the quickest package on the grid that will paper over those cracks? Why? But if I take a step back for a second, perhaps more pertinently, I need to ask questions of the fan base and myself. In the second season after a massive overhaul of the rules and the regs, if past this prologue the dominant team stays dominant, per Red Bull in 2010, per Mercedes in 2014, is it even realistic then to expect Mercedes to win races? You want me to be honest? I don't know. And why, as Mercedes fans, do I think that we have the God-given right to win championship after championship in perpetuity? Now, of course, there were green shoots in testing. Of course there were. Lewis put down the second quickest time in day 3. There was no sign of the dreaded porpoising that so plagued us last year. And if you compare 22 testing with 23, Mercedes are amongst the biggest time gainers. And if the team can continue to develop the car at the same rate that we saw in the 2022 season, then surely we've got nothing to worry about. Surely. So maybe then the problem lies with me. And it's my failure as a Lewis and Mercedes fan to manage my own expectations. Because sadly, in all of high-level sports, there are a few irrevocable truths. One of which is that on a long enough timeline, the survival rate is always 0. Truly nothing lasts forever. And so, like all sporting dynasties, if past this prologue, Mercedes' dominance will have to come to an end. It's a matter of when and not if.